seen the Lord. Seen the Lord. How are you?
We'll now call this regular workshop meeting of the City Council to order. And Council, you have a copy of the agenda, proposed agenda for tonight's meeting. And also we have minutes and consent items. Minutes are from the May 20th, 2025 regular meeting. And there's 6 of them if you'll include that in your motion.
Move approval to adopt the agenda with the consent items 1 through 7.
And the minutes.
And the minutes, excuse me.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so we're going to go down to the discussion item for tonight is the housing policy update. And Tracy Jackson, you can lead on this.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor. Just wanted to come before you and bring you an update regarding our housing policy. Just wanted to remind you of who do we serve in our community. The Development Finance Initiative, they came and they brought us information about the people who qualify for our programs as far as the area medium income. So as you see, wait staff, which are in our service-oriented businesses, teachers, Onslow Memorial Hospital, of course, some Camp Lejeune employees, they all qualify with our area medium income. And these are our HUD area median income information for 4-person household. This information was in 2024. Of course, at that time, the average current rent rate is $1,300 a month. As a guide, these folks should not pay more than 30% of their monthly income. So that means that for those folks who make 30%, they should not be paying more than $515 per month in monthly rent. And the only income that as far as the employee that can afford that monthly income is the nurse at Onslow Memorial Hospital. So that nurse, as long as they did not make more than $60,960, they could have access to down payment assistance with our programs. We do have some good news. In April 1st, 2025, our HUD income guidelines were raised. So if someone like that nurse made $61,000 last year, they would not qualify for our programs. But this year, they can come back and they would qualify for our programs. So what that means is now our reach for assistance has increased along with this income increase with the HUD income guidelines. The types of affordable housing that's needed here in Jacksonville, of course, supportive. The supportive housing includes the disabled population. Of course, their clients are going to be connected to a human service agency that offers supportive services, and those incomes are usually below 50% area median income. We also need transitional housing. Transitional housing also needs some support, but it's a temporary situation. This is meant to bridge the gap from homelessness to permanent housing. They're going to also offer some kind of supervision, education, training, so that they can obtain the economic mobility to get themselves out of poverty status. Workforce housing is needed. Those folks that we just mentioned, those are the entry-level public safety employees, LPNs, any service-oriented businesses, small business entrepreneurs. Those are the folks who need some workforce housing here in Jacksonville. And of course, home ownership, direct assistance to qualified first-time home buyers, such as subsidies. They require subsidies, down payment assistance. That nurse with the family of 4, they can now obtain home ownership opportunities with some gap financing. So we can serve that population of folks. So with that, we have our activities in our CDBG program, which currently in our inventory, we have 5 buildable lots, 4 of those are affordable housing lots, and 4 lots are scheduled for the builder's RFP process. So we have also 3 homes available for sale. I always put information out there so folks can access home ownership and access our homes that we have for sale. So currently 112 Cox Avenue is available for $193,250. I am told that it is one of the lowest cost new construction home in the city limits of Jacksonville. It may be lower cost, but it's not lower cost in quality. You have to come in and see this house. I think some people in council went to, for our CDBG week activities, they came and they toured this house. And this house is a beautiful home. It is available. And in order to qualify, all you have to do is contact us at 910-938-5286. Talk to me or Pamela Trapton, and we can see whether or not you can qualify for the homes. We also are building 2 homes at 408 and 410 Ann Street. We call it the green and the blue houses. So we are very pleased with the outcome of those homes as well. And those homes will be available in about 60 days. So make sure that they come. If you think you can qualify or you know someone can qualify, make sure that you contact us and we'll show you how to get into these homes. And now we're going to turn it over to Mr. Blackman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to take a little different perspective and take a little deeper dive in terms of looking at kind of next steps. As you all remember, DFI, when they came in, I've only listed here some of the first 4 activities that they provided in terms of the community scan, the housing assessment, the group activities and those types of things. But they also went a little bit further, and part of that engagement was to identify up to 4 sites that they would then take 2 of those sites and do a deeper dive for us. We're going to talk just a little bit about what that deeper dive entailed, but I want to mention before we get there that we do currently have some affordable housing partners that we've been working with. Carolina Statewide Development, as you all are aware, we just recently extended that contract with them for the start of that project that will hopefully be beginning very soon. And East Carolina Community Development has already been awarded funds. They're doing some supportive units and now have a pending application for 72 more units. I bring that up because one of the challenges that we have is identifying additional private partners to work with us, whether nonprofit or for-profit, to do affordable or workforce housing in our community. As Tracy's already mentioned, some of our future public-private partnership opportunities, they revolve around transitional housing, Red Carpet Inn as an example, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. Land acquisition, which I think is going to be key to any type of catalyst projects that we look at moving forward. And lastly, our infill redevelopment. You saw the lots, the houses on Cox and Ann that the NIS staff is working on right now, and they're doing a great job. You'll probably see some more of that. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but in their action plan at our next meeting later this month for that public hearing, you'll get a little bit more detail about their activities and what they intend to do with our HUD allocation for this upcoming year. But I bring up the Red Carpet Inn, as many of you are already aware that the United Way has been working feverishly on trying to identify funds not only to acquire the property, but what it would take to do some substantial rehabilitation. That's not an easy project to take on. The local Realtor Association has also been engaged with that project, and they've actually brought in a team that's been doing some interviews. Some of you may have volunteered for those interviews to talk about housing opportunities here in our market. Now, I've shared this with the senior staff here at the city, as well as with Tracy, is that, we can't be everything to everybody whenever it comes to housing. And a project like this, the red carpet, the former Red Carpet Inn, I think our role is what can we do to help support it? It's not one of those projects where the city would come out and take the lead, but what could we do to support that project once they're able to acquire this particular parcel? Then we can look at our current allocation of CDBG funds and other things to assist with transitional housing. So the red carpet is on our radar, not again as the city being a lead entity in that particular project, but I think it's one that we could support if the United Way is successful in identifying or raising the funding that's needed in order to actually acquire the property. But again, it's a very big undertaking at this particular time.
What is the cost of that property now?
I think at one point they were talking about 1.5 to 2 million.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Was that estimate?
At least it came down, but still.
And I think they're very close with the funding for acquisition. It's the repair, the substantial, redevelopment that has to happen with that property.
Can you use any of it, or will it need to be torn down?
I think it's their intent to utilize the existing structure. I know that planning and our code enforcement staff has been involved in that process, and there are some issues that are going to have to be addressed as it relates to building code. But I would say if they're able to identify a funding source within a reasonable amount of time, I think that building is still salvageable. But the longer that it stays vacant, with some of the issues it does have, I know the fire marshal has probably been there as well, but I can't say what the what sort of the timeline is for that property right now, but I can honestly say, though, that if there isn't some movement within a reasonable period of time, if there's not a timeline, the property could become in a state of disrepair where you may not be able to utilize it for the type of use that they're interested in doing.
Deal with how much it would take to actually tear it down, and then the cost of actually building on that property. So I hope somebody could come in there and purchase it.
Who owns it?
It's a local.
Same owner that owns
same owner.
the
Same owner.
I can't tell you his name,
Nazir.
but I do know, Mr. Bittner, that part of this number that Mr. Jackson's talking about, when the previous fire marshal looked at the building, he said it's a steel structure, so the structure's solid. So back to Terrell's point, the structure may be solid, but everything else is the challenge. And at one point last year, there was a public sale on the property, and that's how we knew the value was around this 1.5 to 2 million. And that was a person that we've worked with in the past in terms of the property owner. I don't remember the name specifically, but I just know that United Way has been in discussions with the property owner. We shall see how that works out.
And the previous owner actually had a loan with the property owner, and
Right.
and that fell apart, and now the property owner is trying to basically sell the property.
And I think from the staff perspective, the thing that we want you all to kind of understand from us and our perspective is that we are supportive of the United Way and their interest in taking on this project. But it doesn't make sense for the city to be a lead entity, but I think there's some ways that we can assist them through technical assistance as well as some of our community development block grant funding once they are able to take ownership or establish ownership of the property. I think that it would provide us then some opportunities as the city to look at, well, how could we assist them?
Again, that, like Terrell mentioned, that real estate foundation team is going to be up here, I think it's next week.
Right.
And that's when some of those meetings are, where some of the council members are scheduled to meet with them, but they're going to meet with other community members in a similar fashion when the Economic Development Group came and talked to us about downtown, to come up with some ideas, but, because of the location where the hotel is and the neighborhood, all those things are factors, when you think about the possibility of redevelopment and the support of the community. There's this need, which is definite, and people like community outreach, the homeless shelter would be able to send some of their people that are ready to the transitional housing, and you can continue to get them through transition. But, it's not an easy project.
No, not at all. Again, that project would be sort of what we would call a public-private partnership if we take that on, which leads me to not specifically these projects, but we still have a couple of parcels over in the Commons that could potentially work for some additional affordable or workforce housing. But one of the points that I really wanted to kind of drive home this evening was that a lot of the development we've been doing in some of the LIHTC or low-income housing tax credit projects we've been doing, those projects have been brought to us. People know that, hey, the city's got land. Our last development that we supported, not only did we give them CDBG funds, which we have typically done on a regular basis, that's ranged anywhere from about $200,000 to $250,000. We've been pretty consistent with that, and I would recommend that we keep doing that because it helps us put some skin in the game, but it also makes those applications a little bit more competitive for the applicants. But I would also like to drive home the fact, though, that if we as a city, first of all, we're not real estate developers. What we're trying to do is facilitate opportunities for our citizens to be able to access housing. That should be our role, and that we have a variety of tools that we can utilize to do that. But as I was sharing with staff, is that when we own the dirt, when we own the real estate, we have the opportunity to now determine what type of housing we'd like to see in our community. I think that's very important for us to understand. If we own the dirt, we have the ability at this point to put out RFPs to say, hey, you know what, we're interested in multifamily housing at this particular site, or we'd like to see single family at this particular site. In the process of doing that, developers will have to come to the table and bring proposals that meet the criteria that we establish as a community. Just as an aside, the North Carolina General Statutes state that we have some ability to have some direct negotiation with developers, especially if they're building affordable housing, serving low and moderate income residents. 60% and below is that threshold. Allows us some opportunity that when we get those proposals, we can negotiate with them directly as long as at a minimum of 20% of those housing units are made for that particular group of families or homeowners at 60% or below. The reason why I bring that up is because mixed income communities, I think, are very important. And I think they would be very important for the city of Jacksonville. One of the things that I've seen happen in other communities is that you don't want to create what I would consider potential pockets of poverty, or that you're putting all of your workforce or affordable housing in just one community. This would provide us, I think, through this RFP process, especially when we own the dirt, allows us the opportunity that, again, we can establish those guidelines, those parameters that we'd like to see in that housing development, and would allow us the opportunity, again, to look at mixed income housing where you can have both low and moderate and market rate housing located in the same community. I think that's important. I think what Tracy is doing on the infill development is a very good example of that. If you look at those houses on Ann Street, in terms of the quality, in terms of how they fit into the downtown community, if you didn't know that the city was building those homes, and it is it is a general contractor, private contractor, but you wouldn't know that those homes were being set aside for workforce housing for low and moderate income residents. And so in terms of the character, in terms of the scale of housing, from a low and moderate income perspective, we can build almost anything that's comparable to anything that's on the market right now. The biggest issue, or I guess the biggest challenge we have, is just making sure that we can provide and hopefully enough subsidy to make those units affordable for those residents that are trying to attain home ownership in our community. Let's see. Again, infill development, very critical. Court Street was just another area that was talked about or looked at when we talked with DFI. Again, an opportunity. There was actually a design that they created for single-family development on that particular site, or it could be multifamily. But again, an opportunity. We own that dirt. What is it that we would like to see there? Some of the priorities that came up, just as a reminder, there were several priorities that came up with DFI in terms of what you all would like to see. The housing priorities, again, were affordable for seniors, affordable for families, mixed income. Some of the things that I've just discussed and talked about, affordable rental and home ownership. And if we're committed to doing that as a city, I think that there are opportunities if we want to prioritize, especially these public-private partnerships. I think first of all, utilizing properties that we currently own, but also making strategic acquisitions will allow us to accomplish some of the goals that the city has already set aside as being important as it relates to affordable housing. You all took a great step this past year in putting the $1 million aside, for economic development and for housing. What are we going to do next? How do we approach staff? We can certainly, I'm definitely going to work with staff to make recommendations, but we also need to make sure that we understand those recommendations meet your priorities in terms of what you want to see in the community. There's some opportunities for us now to potentially do some large land acquisition, and that pool or that pot of funds could be available for us to be able to do that. And I mention that only because with the community development block grant funds, if we utilize those funds work great for us for supplementing multifamily projects like the low-income housing tax developments and the substantial rehabilitation and rehab in terms of new construction that's going on the infill lots. But the CDBG funds aren't I would say, wouldn't be as beneficial to us if we're looking at going after large tracts of land, especially if you're dealing with potential relocation and those types of things. It puts the city on the hook for a lot more expenses and sometimes more headaches than we want to really deal with as it relates to housing development. But where I see that pot of funds, that $1 million, is that if we identify a tract that could create a catalyst project for us, we potentially would bring that to you all, utilize those funds for the land acquisition, whether it's 5, 10, 20 acres, whatever it is. But that would at least allow us to acquire the property. We would then utilize the CDBG funds to come back in and help with a lot of the infrastructure and those other needs that we may have with that particular development. We didn't want to get too far into the weeds with you this evening. We have a post-budget retreat coming up where we're probably going to bring some other things back to you as it relates to some particular sites. Tracy in 2 weeks is just going to talk a little bit about her action plan for this upcoming fiscal year and where we stand with that. But what I wanted to really, what I told Mr. Ray and Mr. Massey this evening, what I really wanted to kind of get across is that we think that there's some opportunities for us to put together some type of catalyst project as it relates to housing. And we are actively looking at larger tracts or parcels where we could do some significant single-family development or multifamily development. And I guess we want to be able to answer any questions you may have now, but we just want to make sure that we're headed in the right direction as it relates to the activities that we're working on here at the city. I'm not a part of Tracy's department, but I am her liaison. A part of my background, I have been a licensed real estate broker, and I've done a lot of housing development in other communities. So the type of work they're doing is sort of in my wheelhouse. And so what I want to do is just be able to support her in what she's doing, but also bring any of my knowledge and my skills to the table to ensure that I'm helping follow the direction, the manager's intent, which is based on, policy and the types of activities that you all want to see happen here in the city of Jacksonville. So I'm going to stop running my mouth, and if we can answer any questions, be more than glad to do that. Again, we had to be careful about. We'll talk about specifically some other properties and things we're taking a look at, but you don't want to put anything out there on the table because we have not talked to some of these property owners or gone into any kind of negotiations with anyone. We're still, I think, on the previous slide we talked about. We're still scanning. We're still looking at properties and looking at opportunities that make sense for the city to invest in. But again, our role shouldn't be real estate developers, but we should be the ones that are out here trying to help facilitate to make sure that all of our citizens have an opportunity to safe and decent housing, whether it's rental or whether it's home ownership.
I think it's very important that you said, we're not developers, we're also not landlords. So keeping us
Correct.
in the facilitating role where we help make these things happen and help people get access to what they need to make these things happen is critical for what we're doing. Just for curiosity, for my sake, have any of the sites, and we'll get the details later, I understand, but have any of the sites you guys have been looking at been one that might be suitable for one of those cottage courts or one of the different kinds of arrangements, something a little out of the box that might be helpful?
Certainly. And the other piece, and Tracy has been in the community a lot longer than I have, the other thing I didn't mention is that there are some community partners, especially the faith-based community, that already owns property, owns land that, specifically we could partner with and maybe be able to inject some capital into some of those projects.
They might be very suitable for that kind of development.
Certainly. So, we talk about the city doing potential land acquisition, but certainly we can partner with entities that already have land that they would like to see developed, and we have talked to some churches and some other entities that are interested in that type of development. And I think we, the city, if we have the right parcel of land, that could be one of the RFPs that goes out, is for that, specifically for that type of housing, if that's what we see as a need in the community.
I have a question. Where are we standing with regards to CDBG funding for this upcoming fiscal year?
I will say, Councilwoman Dr. Washington, that we have received our funding allocation from HUD. It's approximately $422,000. And as Mr. Blackman has mentioned, we're going to be bringing staff forward I'm pleased to say that Pamela Trafton, she's been working really hard this year, and she's going to be presenting her very first annual action plan to council. So that's going to happen at the next council meeting.
And also with your department that you have currently, how many staff is working under you within your department?
We have a staff of 4.
Staff of 4. And other than yourself, is there anyone else that has as many years of experience as you within your department?
No, ma'am. I think Pam, she is going on her 8th year with us.
Because what you and Mr. Blackman have presented here with regards to the housing initiative is going to take a robust and a vigorous push in order to be able to have the type of affordable housing that we need, and with these housing initiatives to be able to support you with the type of staff that you're going to need in order to push through with this process. So thank you for bringing that information to us.
Well, I'll just, Dr. Councilwoman Washington, one of the things that I'll share with you, and this is some of the guidance that I've received from the city manager, is working to make sure that we prioritize our activities, and that and prioritizing those activities that we do have the staff to be able to accommodate and do those things. And so as we are able to continue to assist Tracy with putting her action plan together and what those housing activities are, I think that we may not have all the resources now, but I feel assured that we'll have the resources, or we'll, I always tell people, if you don't have, sometimes if you don't have that access to that knowledge base on staff, sometimes you have to go out and find it or identify it. And so it may not be necessarily always bringing on more staff, but it may be finding the right partner that can assist us in getting those projects done. So, DFI. Right, certainly. So DFI does a great job with research and their data collection and those types of things, but we may be looking at a different type of capacity now to help us start bringing some of these other projects forward. But certainly they've assisted us in developing and building the foundation that's needed. And now as we take these next steps going into an RFP process and acquisition, we may be identifying a different type of capacity to help us bring some of these projects to fruition.
Can we go back to the slide where you have the various working groups within our community?
The income.
Yeah, the income bracket, sorry.
The people.
Yes, sir. Yeah. If we had a pie chart, how would do you all know how that would work as far as the percentages of 100% that would be wait staff? What's that percentage of our community? Onslow, the teachers, or
I think we have that.
We have it.
Okay.
DFI did that.
It's part of that study. We have to pull it out, and we can pull that out even part of our report next week or 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah, we can definitely do that.
And do you all know the most recent homeless count for the city?
Where's the pit count?
Right.
It happens in January.
It happens in, I think it's about 134 to 140 people that they counted this year. We know that it's more than that, but unfortunately during that window of time, that's when the numbers count. So the pit count for this year, which it is gone up because usually they can only find like 20 or 30 to 50 people.
I would think spring and summer would probably be and August would be the time where you're going to get the best count.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
You start transitioning because of hurricanes.
That was hot. Too.
So, yeah.
So they move from the north down to the south and then go out west.
And part of that value, Mayor, part of the partnership value that we look at, we talked about 148 units that are active units now. Those units are with partners That's James Made's teams and Keith Walker. Those are two valuable assets to our workforce affordable housing partners. Back to Mr. Warden's comment, having those individuals that we trust in doing work with and doing business with, they're valuable assets. DFI has come in to talk about part of the plan, part of the problem, part of the solution. So back over to Ms. Edwards' comment, during their interview process, they met with two of our churches to look at their interest in these projects, similar to what we saw down in Wilmington. So knowing that we have those partners, it goes back to Terrell's point of if we can bring those partners to the table and assist them with a project such as this, we're going to see something that happens a lot quicker. But 148 active units right now, that's an incredible number for us in a community, and that's without us trying to go out and do our own. The last point I'd like to add is 3 years ago, Tracy's push was we have, at the time, plus or minus 16 lots. We need to get houses put onto those lots. And you see between Ann Street, between Cox Avenue, and multiple other lots, we're moving forward, I would say at a pretty good pace. Maybe not too aggressive, but at a pace that we can handle. That brings in those building partners to increase the housing. The Cox Avenue house is incredible. The Ann Streets are, I think those are top level. I don't think we've built something of that aesthetic. I think the caliber and the quality is all equal, but the aesthetics of the Ann Street and the Cox are just fantastic.
Well, we try to make sure that we go with the streetscape and the community itself. Like Terrell said, we do not want anyone to say, we know that that's a low-income house. HUD does not want us to do that. So when we do infill construction, we look at the streetscape and the existing housing that are there, that people are living in. And I always share that I'm a tree hugger. I know that we are Canopy City, so I'm going to find a way to save the trees around those, because the value of trees in a community, it is invaluable to me. It helps a house stay cooler in some instances, aesthetics, and if that tree has been here through all of those hurricanes, that tree is here to stay. So we try to be careful when we go in and do infill construction, make sure that our houses match the community in the neighborhood.
Well, the ones we got to tour were beautiful. I'm still jealous of the primary
What you talking about? Yeah.
walk-in closet, just saying.
You're going to like these ones also on Ann Street. And anytime that you all see the workers in there, and they have had some traffic, especially on the weekends, people go in there, just want to look around. And I'm glad that the community itself, downtown community itself, is engaged and interested in seeing what we have to offer. But there have been some interest in people finding out how can they purchase and how can they own that home.
Yeah, we were doing a project right down the street, and I didn't realize those were city-owned houses or, working with it. I had no clue about it until about 2 weeks ago when someone said something in a meeting. I had no clue that was part of it, so they do it really well.
Right. We did the tour at the Catholic Church. Well, we went to the school just 2 weeks ago, and the administrator, first thing he asked me was, hey, can you send me the information on those houses? He said, we've probably got teachers that would love to get in those Ann Street houses, and they're in that income bracket. They could afford it. So
Yeah, those are great ads.
yeah, they are. They very
Next
are.
level work.
Right.
And the point there is we have a lot of different directions that we're coming from, and that's what the strategy's been from the onset is the more angles we can attack an issue on, the more successful we feel we're going to be. I think we've developed strong partnerships. I think we have the support of council. I think we have community support, and hopefully we can pull together the partners to continue being successful. And then as Terrell said, at the post-budget retreat, we hope to have some bigger plans to bring to you with those
We're also looking at redevelopment. There's a lot of neighborhoods, that have some old houses and people can't afford to keep up. Either taking them out or, redoing them, because people just can't afford some of that, but maybe we could help out with.
Yeah, we currently have a project in Belfort Homes where we had an opportunity to purchase a house, and we're doing some major renovations, and we're going to put that house back into the affordable homeownership stock market that we have. that.
We were just talking behind Dunkin' Donuts, right? Weren't we talking about that not so long ago?
Yes, so yes, we do have some on Sherwood Road and also on, I want to say Queens Road.
Okay.
So we will, we try to make sure that all of our existing and older neighborhoods, they have some kind of stability. They keep some kind of stability, and we want to revitalize some of those older neighborhoods. I do have a community development block grant map that shows where all of the lower income, I've shared with you, where some of these lower income block grants are located. And so it tells us that we have to focus and revitalizing and keeping those neighborhoods stable. So they tell us where we need to invest our dollars.
What about the condition of some of the housing area over at New River? I know some of those houses are kind of, I'm not talking about the apartments, but in the housing area. Have we done any work in there at all?
So just came from a conference, and of course with that conference, HUD, they very briefly showed up, but one of the things that they shared with us is that we needed to dust off our opportunity zones plans, and we've had one. And this administration is interested in developing and revitalizing with CDBG dollars and HUD dollars, those opportunity zones. So New River is in our opportunity zone. I've invited that representative to come, and he may be able to come. I shared with Mr. Blackman that he responded and said, we're going to look at this and we may be available for a site visit. So hopefully they will come down and see what our opportunity zones look like and see what they can do as far as reallocate some funds here in this community.
Aren't a lot of those units out, those homes, rental units though? Yeah, so that's.
So like off of Nelson, that one?
Yeah.
One of the keys to success is a neighborhood that has a good mix of ownership as well as some people renting. I think when we have large areas that are under rental only, I think the chances of it going downhill quicker than an area that has a mixture of owners in there is greater. And also, I think another key that, and you've certainly, you and Lily Gray started this, but mixing them in. We have a diverse population, and diversity is great for a lot of things, great for neighborhoods. We just talked about the rental versus home ownership, but it's important to have a mixture of even incomes to a certain extent. I mean, you're always going to have some people who want to go in behind a gated community, but most of us want to live in a neighborhood where I don't want to live around a bunch of old folks. I want kids in the neighborhood around me too. I mean, so it's important that we have that diversity across so many different ideas. So.
Yes, sir.
You're too old to be playing with the kids though.
Since we raised the question of New River, what's the status of the litigation on that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked about that. So we'll talk about that in a closed session probably for more specific updates, but that is still pending. And we're in ongoing settlement efforts right now with plaintiff's counsel, but it's basically open.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It'd be so much, well, we won't say anything. Right, I'll save my comments for a closed session.
It is nice, Mr. Bittner, seeing the units that they've remodeled and seeing that there are people living in those units. It's exciting when we do those daily drives through the neighborhood to know that there's population in and out of 30 plus or minus units out of the 697 that are there.
30's not much, so.
30's more than zero.
Are they still pulling any permits, or is that kind of?
Not right now, Mayor.
Did they redo the flooring in the?
We have 30 completed units that people are living in.
That's all he's going to say.
All we can say.
That's his politician answer.
Yeah, I got you. He's good.
They look great.
Sandy Run Church, of course, has done a lot with individual houses in that area. which is a good partner, you know.
Are they the ones that did the ones like almost right next door? Was that them?
Yeah, they have a lot right around the back of the property.
You can see where there's been some renovations of people that, in fact, my wife, we went to the Ospreys ball game last night, and she asked me, well, how come these are looking nice? I said, well, they're probably not owned by the one that we were talking about. So.
Yeah, those are privately owned, not
Yes.
inside of that mix. So.
And that, you know, that's a challenge in all these neighborhoods. It's a slow process, one by one, that houses, you know, start being improved. I mean, Cox Street.
Cox, you can see where people have taken initiative because they want to mirror some of the good things that they see on the street. They want to mirror it.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we got to do in a lot of those older neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in Country Club Villas as well.
Yes. And that's where
Turned that neighborhood
Just
around.
turned around.
we need to get more home ownership in there and not just strictly rentals. You know, just from a landlord myself, I think it's important that you have a mixture.
Yes.
It makes our community safer too. Law enforcement isn't getting as many calls, you know, in a lot of these neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You know, a homeowner is a homeowner.
Right.
You know, and I think there's this misnomer out there that a low moderate income resident wants the same thing that anybody else wants as it relates to housing, safeties and housing. And so I just think that it's important that whatever we can do to help support our citizens, we do that. I was just going to mention, we are also looking at a lot of the housing policies to make sure that they're flexible enough that you know, we have the ability to help citizens when we have an opportunity. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention it. You know, Lorna's been very helpful as well. And so some of the other things that, you know, we'd like to discuss or take a little deeper dive on, we'll need a little bit more legal advice from the attorney before we discuss some of these other properties and other things we're doing. But certainly, glad to have her as a part of the staff and part of the team. She attends some of Tracy's staff meetings, and that's definitely been helpful in terms of developing a better relationship among staff in terms of being able to move projects and getting things accomplished. So,
Has the amount of the HUD vouchers increased since?
No, we do not. We have the same amount.
And that was a problem before everything.
Yes.
Elevated.
And think about what inflation has done.
Tracy,
It's certainly not even kept pace with inflation.
Remind me again how they base those, who gets those vouchers and who does it as far as area is concerned.
So I want to say that it is a formula that they award our designated housing authority those vouchers. So our designated housing authority is East Carolina Human Service Agency. And even though we have a limited amount, I think it's only like 36 or something like that, what they also do is manage housing vouchers from other communities. So let's say you bring in your housing voucher will move with you. So if you're coming from any other city with a housing voucher, you let them know and they will manage. So even though we only have 36, they manage all of the housing vouchers that come into this community.
So you could theoretically have more than 36 because of the way that thing's set up.
Yes.
Is it exclusive only to in-state or does it apply to out-of-state?
Out-of-state, New York City,
yeah.
anybody.
Your vouchers have portability, and then it's based on the market rent in that community.
So you're not going
the voucher.
So you're not going to get a $2,200 voucher that's going to work here. It's only going to be for the market for here.
Yeah, you may get more in New York. When you come down here, it'll be adjusted down. But the problem, though, is that the total number that are available hasn't really increased.
Right. As far as new vouchers, they still have a long waiting list. HUD tells them that they have to open it up. They open it up and they take more applications, but their application list is a year to 3 years.
It's just like,
Is that organization that revitalized that hotel in Wilmington still interested? I forgot the name of it. We visited the hotel.
It's Vivo.
Vivo. Have they expressed any interest in partner with us in the community?
Not directly that I know of. There may be other partners that have contacted them to see how they did it in Wilmington, to see how they can do it here in Jacksonville as far as that organization such as United Way.
Any other questions for us, I guess?
Thank you.
Thank you. That was very informative.
Appreciate it.
Keep going.
Mayor, we're at the end of the show. If I may, we have a couple things that we'd like to share for our One City moment. We did have the Ospreys season opener that happened this weekend. This is season number 2. This was the ceremonial first pitch right there by our mayor. And this is the team picture to show you that we have started out the season on the right foot. The opening night turnout was about 2,200 people. If you were able to see opening day, it was very impressive, even with the idea that rain was coming soon. For some of us not intelligent people sitting there in the stands without an umbrella, it just came out of nowhere. We were surprised that it happened, but it didn't impact the team as they went on to win big. I believe it was 14-4 opening night with a strong win. If you remember, we finished last year really strong as well with the second half. Then the game 2, we had about 560 people in attendance, which is over last year's average. And then game 3, so opening day weekend was a really big showing for us. Game 3 was over 500 as well. So you saw numbers increased over last year's numbers for their first 3 games, which is significant for what that momentum needs to be as we carry on season 2, so that hopefully this year the team is, they perform at a high level, our people continue to turn out, we enjoy baseball. There were some great improvements done at the stadium, at Jack Amyette Field this year. Wally's team, Michael's team, Susan's team, all being active, making improvements to the field. And then remember, this year we host the All-Star Game. So in year number 2, we're hosting the All-Star Game. I think the mayor's going to be able to compete in the home run challenge if he accepts that.
That was nothing like my pitching.
Your pitching was spot on, Mayor.
Did you get over the plate?
That fastball.
3 feet from it, yeah.
Got over the plate.
It did. The catcher was running, but it was a fastball knuckle curve slider, and it was a beautiful pitch. So impressive for us to start.
Or as Dizzy Deans would say, it's slud over the plate.
That's right.
It's slud.
It looked like a strike from my angle, Mayor, but very exciting for there. And then previously we did have Memorial Day weekend. I say that Memorial Day is a very special time across our country, but it's really special in Jacksonville and for a military host city in that we have a lot of veterans that live here. We have a lot of people that are associated with our veterans, and Memorial Day is a time when we honor those that have given that ultimate sacrifice to serve our country in both foreign and domestic affairs. So Memorial Day events in Jacksonville have a different meaning, and that's just for our team, that's for our citizens, that's for the family members that place flags. A lot of events throughout the community that allowed us to remember all of the men and women who have served and who have given their lives. Multiple events throughout the weekend. Coastal Carolina State Veterans Cemetery, the candlelight vigil by the Rolling Thunder, remembering the prisoner of wars and missing in action vets. The motorcade on Sunday with Rolling Thunder Ride for Freedom, passing by City Hall and the Freedom Fountain. Here you see our fire department hanging the flag above the roadway and to paint the town with the patriotic spirit. And then it doesn't get much better than you see this from the bypass. You look down and see that our fire department's part of this remembrance, this appreciation And here's placing the wreath, multiple events, multiple opportunities to say thank you to the men and women that serve our country and to their families for the appreciation. That's all we have, Mayor.
Good, thank you. All right, with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and second. Any discussion on that? All in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed?
All right.